Good afternoon and welcome to the kickoff meeting for the Housing Trust Fund non-residential housing fee nexus study and fee update. This is the first step in the county's public outreach effort to update our Housing Trust Fund fee. Okay, this is what we are going to be going over in our presentation today. We're going to go over the background of this fee, some details about the updated Nexus study and context for the fee selection, the next steps, and then we will entertain questions and comments. So the background is that there is a need for affordable housing in the Sacramento region. The current standard of housing affordability indicates that households spending 30% or more of their gross income on housing are cost burdened, and severe overpayment occurs when households spend 50% or more of their gross income on housing. The impact of high housing costs disproportionately affects extremely low, very low, and low income households. And based on these standards, market rate housing is not affordable for households under 80% of the median income. 73% of renters, 60% of homeowners earning under 80% of the median are overpaying for housing, and Sacramento County under the RHNA, the Regional Housing Needs Allocation, must provide over 11,000 units that meet the lower income and moderate income levels. So therefore, the Housing Trust Fund is a component that the county uses to provide affordable housing. The fee for affordable housing is on non-residential construction. It provides gap financing to create affordable housing. This fee was originally established in 1990 and it was last updated in 1992. Reassessment of the fee is an implementation action for the analysis of impediments to fair housing choice that was submitted to HCD, and updating this fee is a priority for Sacramento County. So this is how the Housing Trust Fund fee works. Again, this is applicable to non-residential development. It is a one-time fee that is paid at building permit. It applies to the development of new non-residential buildings in the unincorporated areas of Sacramento County. The funds are deposited into the Housing Trust Fund, which is managed by Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency. Approximately 3,000 affordable units have been assisted in their construction since 1990 using this funding source. So the Housing Trust Fund fee, there are approximately 50 similar programs in California, and within Sacramento County, 5 cities have similar fees. They're the City of Sacramento, Elk Grove, Rancho Cordova, Citrus Heights, and Folsoms. So Sacramento County is not alone in utilizing this fee to facilitate affordable housing. The existing fees that are currently charged, they're based on a square foot for building area. And again, we would note that these fees were last updated in 1992, and they are not indexed for inflation. So essentially the fees that have been collected are at the same level for the past 29 years. So as you can see, currently they range from a high of 97 cents per square foot for office down to a low of 26 cents per square foot for our warehouse construction. So there are 2 studies that were necessary to support this fee update, and they were prepared by our consultant, Kaiser Marston Associates, or KMA. They are the Housing Trust Fund Nexus analysis, which is required to address the legal requirements, and it establishes the maximum fees that the county could legally collect, not necessarily what the county will end up adopting. The next study is the analysis context and recommendations. It provides information to support the selection of the updated fee levels, and it consists of a market context, fees as a percent of the development cost, affordable housing fee programs in the Sacramento area, so other areas that do this within the county, a comparison of total fees and permit costs to other jurisdictions, and then an illustration of the fee had it been escalated for cost increases over time. So the Nexus study purpose, again, is that it is to establish the maximum fee levels that could be charged, and it is prepared to address the legal requirement in state law to implement an impact fee. So the concept that we have here is that there is a nexus between non-residential development and housing. So when you build a new workplace buildings, it means that there's going to be new jobs, a share of which are lower paying, which results in new lower income households, which results in a new demand for affordable housing. And again, the Nexus study is going to provide what the maximum fee levels are, not necessarily what the county will be adopting. And so the Nexus study result is that basically this is going to be the maximum fees that could be assessed to provide affordable units to workers. And so this study does provide the Nexus study maximum fee findings. And as you can see, there are some additional categories listed here from the original Housing Trust Fund fee categories. And so they're at office, which would be slightly over $47 a square foot, down to residential care, which would be $15.10. But I think you would find that these are the potential ceilings or maximum on these fees. And it's significantly greater than what we currently charge. And again, it is not what we would anticipate would be adopted. This is the maximum. So this slide shows the development that we see in the unincorporated county for the four categories that we currently collect fees for: warehouse and industrial, retail, office, and hotel rooms. The county does have significantly more warehouse and distribution, and it has been our largest category of non-residential development in recent years. And it is also the category for which we charge the lowest amount of fees. We have had nearly 5 million square feet that were built or under construction in 2020 and 2021. So if we did in fact have a fee which was more representative of costs currently, we could have potentially collected more money, which would have provided more funds for affordable housing. But again, you can see the blue, which is the warehouse, which is our largest category. And then I think our next slide is going to be presented by our consultant, David Dozema with KMA.
Good afternoon, everybody. David Dozema with Kaiser Marston. I'm going to start by presenting some information that was prepared identifying the overall development costs of some representative non-residential projects for the county. And the purpose of this analysis is to help in understanding potential fee levels in the context of how they impact the overall project budget for non-residential development. And we looked at 5 types: warehouse, light industrial, retail, office, and hotel. And we identified the physical characteristics of the representative projects by reviewing pipeline projects that the county has seen. If we could go to the next slide, Leanne. Leanne, could you go to the next?
Yes, I am attempting to. It might be a little bit delayed.
So I guess I'll start talking about the next slide while Leanne's working on that. The next slide presents the estimated cost information, and we've looked at just the total stack of costs, including land, construction, indirect costs and financing, governmental fees, and then the housing fee. And then the housing fee that we've been talking about is that little red line on the top. So currently it's a relatively small component of the overall development cost of a non-residential project. The other utility of this information is to help in distinguishing or help in considering how fees might be distinguished by building type. So for example, warehouse distribution has an overall estimated cost of the range of $125 to $155 per square foot of building area. So that's at the low end of the cost range of these representative project types you see here. And that means that $1 of fee added to that warehouse distribution project type is going to be more impactful in percentage terms than that same dollar per square foot added to, for example, the office prototype project, just because that's a lower cost, lower rent building to begin with. And so every dollar matters just a little bit more to the project budget. If we could go to the next, please. And here we take that same cost information, which you see in the left-hand column, and use it to express illustrative fee levels as in terms of their percentage impact on the overall development cost. So for example, with a $3 fee level, which is in the middle of the set of columns that you see there, it would represent about 2% of the cost of a warehouse distribution development project, and in the range of 1% of the development budget for retail, office, or hotel projects. So this kind of information is really intended to help in thinking about appropriate fee levels by building type. And then over in the right-hand column, you see what the percentages look like for current fees. Currently, warehouse distribution, the 26 cents per square foot that Leanne mentioned that applies to warehouses, about 0.19% of the cost of development for that type of a project. And then it ranges up to about 0.37% in the case of an office development. So if we could go to the next, please. Shifting gears here, this is a comparison of the overall fees and permits cost that apply to a project. The two green columns at the left represent overall fees and permits costs in Sacramento County for a warehouse development project. And then the other columns are other jurisdictions. So City of Sacramento, Rancho Cordova, Elk Grove, West Sacramento, and Placer County. So as you can see, the county's fees are toward the higher end of the range of these comparison jurisdictions currently. And that housing fee, which is that orange at the top of the chart, bar charts, is a relatively small component of that overall fee stack. It's about 2% of the overall fees and permits cost for a warehouse building. And then if we could go to the next. This is a similar chart for retail development. And again, Sacramento County's fees, overall fees, are towards the higher end of the range of the comparison jurisdictions that we looked at. They exceed, Rancho Cordova is sort of the only jurisdiction that's sort of in a similar range in terms of its development fees. And then next we'll have a similar chart for office, if we could advance to that. With office, you can see that Sacramento County's fees are in the middle of the range of the comparisons, similar to West Sacramento and Placer County, a little below the city of Sacramento. In each of these comparisons, we tried to select where a jurisdiction has multiple fee levels that apply in different areas. We tried to select areas that would see the type of development that we're talking about. So in the case of warehouse development, for example, we were looking at Metro Air Park as an example of where that type of development would occur. And the same thing with respect to the other jurisdictions. We selected areas within which that type of development is likely to occur. So if we could go to the final bar chart like this, and that's for hotel. And with hotel, the county is also sort of in the middle of the range, looking at its overall fee stack. And again, the housing fee is a small piece of the total. If we could advance to the next. Now, this is about only the affordable housing fees and how those affordable housing fees compared to the other jurisdictions in the region that have similar fees in place. And the green at the top is the county, and it's got fees at the lowest end of the range for the jurisdictions that have these. Rancho Cordova and Citrus Heights have identical fees that they inherited from the county when they were incorporated as cities. The city of Sacramento initially, at the time the county adopted its program, had identical fees to the county as well. But over time, the city has indexed its fees for increases in cost of construction and had a significant update a period of years ago. And so at this point is not quite 3 times as high as the county's fees are. Folsom has a flat rate of $1.70 across the board, but reduces that level for very large buildings over 200,000 square feet. And then Placer County has a $2 flat rate that applies to uses other than warehouse. And that currently applies only within the Tahoe Sierra Nevada area. If we could go to the next. Here we, for illustration purposes, calculated what the county's affordable housing fee would have looked like had it been indexed for increases in costs over time, using a standard index, using the same index as is currently used for the affordable housing fees that the county applies to residential development. So over the 29 years since the current fee schedule was adopted, it would have increased by roughly 240% had it been indexed using the index noted below. And then finally, we'll get to our recommendations based on the materials presented previously. We're suggesting that the county consider a fee for most types of non-residential up to about $3 per square foot. We think that that's kind of what makes sense, given that the county is generally at the upper end of the range of, you know, in a number of cases, sort of at the high end of the range of its overall fee stack. That level would increase the county to the upper end of the range of affordable housing fees, but wouldn't fundamentally alter sort of the competitive balance in terms of its overall fee stack. And then for warehouse distribution and industrial, we're suggesting consideration of up to $2 per square foot. This is an important land use category for the county. It's a category that's been a lot of development in this area, and that the county's shown strength in attracting this type of development. At the same time, it is a lower cost building. It does get lower rents. And so moderation is appropriate in terms of the fee level there, because of that analysis that we talked about, in that each dollar fee is a little bit more impactful for these warehouse and industrial uses. And then finally, we're suggesting that the county in the future index the fee so that it is able to keep pace with increases in cost over time. So, and Leanne, I'll hand it back to you. Thanks. Oh, you're on mute.
I just want to say thank you, David, and reintroduce myself. I am Leanne Mueller. I'm a senior planner with Sacramento County Office of Planning and Environmental Review. So this would be where we are in the process and our next steps. So today is our kickoff meeting, and the purpose of this was to provide the slideshow, which provided context and summarized the studies that we have prepared. And then tomorrow, the studies, both the Nexus study and the context study, will be on the webpage which we have created, which will allow those to be reviewed by the people that we had attended to the invited to attend this meeting, and then also members of the public who are so inclined. And then our plan for the next step is that we will have focus group meetings with the developers and then the housing advocates in September. We've set aside both September 7th and September 15th for those to occur. And then we would take it to the Planning Commission and the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency Commission for the Planning Commission to review and make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors, and then just as a presentation to the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency Commission. And then in winter of 2021, we would anticipate taking the ordinance update to the Board of Supervisors. And one thing to keep in mind is that today you have seen the maximum fees that the Nexus study would allow. You have seen KMA's recommendation on the fees that we would anticipate that they are recommending that we would charge and would be reasonable. And then what the county will then do is take the information that we get at the focus groups and then craft a staff recommendation for the fee levels that will go to the Planning Commission and ultimately the Board of Supervisors. So that's why we are asking for public input, because we're asking for the public input on the fee levels that we should be asking for as part of this update. So that's where we are with our next steps, and I would be happy to answer any questions or take any comments that anybody may have at this time. I guess seeing that there are none, Christy, do you want to stop recording?
Sure.